I don't know where you're at today, but if you're out there and you're feeling broken, I want to speak to you. This message is inspired by a conversation I had with someone who reached out for help yesterday. And in that conversation, she shared with me that she felt broken, as perhaps many of you who are listening in today feel the same way. And what was really even more heartbreaking about that is not just the things that happened in the past, but over the course of these many years in trying to find the answers and trying to deal with it, she felt more broken than ever before. She shared with me that she had been in therapy and gone to counseling for 10 plus years. And she agreed with me when I said, what that has really done to serve to you is the belief that you are inherently broken. And that's the end of the story. And that's where so many people get stuck. It's exactly where the enemy would want God's people to be. Now, it's a tricky thing around the idea of brokenness because the Bible speaks about brokenness. In fact, it tells us that we ought to have a broken heart, a broken and contrite heart. If anything, I think the Bible speaks about brokenness in two key ways. One, that we ought to have a brokenness about our own sin, like we ought to grieve over that, right? And confess that to the Lord. But then there is the realization that we are going to have broken hearts, right? But that is not the end of the story for God's people. The rest of the story is that God has plans for that. Don't we know what Jeremiah 29 says to us? For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of my heart, with all of your heart. Therein, God is saying, when you seek after me, I will deliver you. Now, this was a promise to the Jewish people, his people in the Old Testament. It's also a promise to us today as his people that he is going to deliver us. And of course, it's the promise about what's going to happen when Jesus comes. So much more than just delivering us into a land. He's going to deliver us out of the brokenness and bring us into the healing. You know, Psalm 147, for example, says he's going to heal. He heals the brokenhearted. There's no question we're going to have broken hearts about things that happen in this world. But that's not the end of the story for God's people. There's so much more for us because what he desires to do is to bind up those broken pieces and put them together with wholeness and purpose. And where the enemy would want us to stay and to believe is that we are inherently broken, end of story. And that's so heartbreaking because that's not what God declares over his people. That's not what he says to us. And we don't need to live there. We don't need to stay there. And so often when people come to us in the context of needing help in their marriage, there's a lot of junk in their own world. Usually when you're addressing your marriage, you also have to address stuff in your own world, your own heart at the same time. Of course you do, because God says you're one flesh. So why would you just work on yourself or the marriage? It doesn't make any logical sense. So when people come to us, they feel like it's like the communication pieces. Well, oftentimes it's the belief about things that have happened in their lives. It is that they believe that they're inherently broken, that they become stuck. And it's like they start showing up in their marriage as though these things were absolutely true. And in many ways, they don't even realize it, but their sinful flesh, even though it hurts, it really is their sinful nature that is leading the way. And again, our God is not seeking to withhold his healing from us. But if we're holding on to the narratives and the beliefs and the lies of what the enemy says and he declares to us, and we're like, yes, more of it. Yes, I deserve that. Yes, beat me up with the lies, enemy. And then there isn't healing when we cultivate over and over again, I am broken, I am a failure, I am a loser. Not to say that we don't have failings and there isn't brokenness. But if we reiterate that and live in that world, we cultivate listening to and tuning into the enemy's lies instead of what the Spirit declares over us. And is it any wonder then that we get stuck? And I'm here to tell you, it's not that God withholds that healing. It's that we're holding on to something else. And that's oftentimes where we come in and turn around marriage. I was, by the way, for many years, lived in the narrative, you're just a failure, you're just a failure. It wasn't ultimately true of me, but it became a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And until you break out of that, there's really not much that can change in your marriage. Because would you want to be married to you when you beat yourself up like that over and over again? Probably not. Like you probably don't smile very much and probably stuck in a lot of negativity. And until you break out of that, your marriage is most likely going to stay stuck too. And so what people need oftentimes is someone to come alongside them and say, is that actually true? Or to call out some of those enemy's lies and the footholds that he's gotten in your heart that maybe you didn't even realize. And that's our privilege. We love to do that, and to be able to help people to see in a different light the way they've been looking at things. So if that's you today, and if you're like, well, first of all, definitely hear the word of God in this admonition that God is for you and for his people, and he wants to bind up your brokenness, bind up your broken heart, and actually to give purpose around the things you've gone through, so that it would drive you forward with great hope and expectation that even the hardest things that you've gone through, it's not the end of the story. With the enemy, it is the end of the story. With God, he has great purpose in all things for his glory in and through us. So, but if that's you today and you're realizing, wow, we've been stuck in a lot of negativity and a lot of beliefs and a lot of lies, and you realize that you need help personally and in your marriage, I'd encourage you to reach out and drop a note to us. Let us know where you're stuck, and we'd love to be able to continue that conversation with you.